hello everyone. We are somewhat live. This is kind of a live recording setup, but I am just recording with QuickTime. I am going to start building something that I've wanted to build for some time, which is a soundboard for a celebrity who I love called Matty Matheson. This is Matty, if you don't know him already. He's a Canadian chef and kind of an internet personality. He got famous originally on Vice doing these kind of how-to videos, and has since spun off into his own YouTube channel and kind of is like a media type guy. The inspiration for this is coming from Syntax FM, which is a podcast that I really like, with Wes Boss and Scott Zielinski. Some fan made a soundboard for them, so you can kind of see the basis of that here. I'm not quite sure what the output is like on this guy. We'll see.
You're listening to Syntax.
There it is. A little bit much. So you can see this is kind of a soundboard. So I want to do something similar for Matty, because I love Matty and he has a lot of funny sayings. So basically what I'm going to end up doing, I think, is a similar idea. So if we look at this, not to completely copy off this person, but what this person has ended up doing is they've got kind of a general background layer here on top of the color, which is what that is. They've also got, as far as I can tell, each key is pointing to an audio file that's being hosted on S3. So you can see this link is pointing to an S3 bucket, and then basically just some JavaScript to control, hey, when you click this key you get this sound, and that's pretty much it. And so I would love to do something similar for Matty. His new YouTube channel / show is called Just a Dash, and so I'm thinking of doing something similar. So you can see it's kind of got this orange theme, and then this is the logo. Not going to take the logo, and not really quite sure what the kind of what the deal would be as it pertains to copyright and all that kind of thing, but I'm just a fan and I want to do something to celebrate this guy who I just love. I love Matty, and so this is kind of the intro to that. So I'm going to just spin up a React app. The end idea is going to be pretty close to this. Really, it's just some static files, some JavaScript, some CSS, some markup, and some audio files on S3. But I think this could be a pretty good intro to all this stuff, and as well as some hosting. So I think I might go for S3 for the static host, so that way we could touch some AWS, and then maybe Netlify for the rest, so that way we're getting to see two different hosting options, which I think would be fun. And yeah, I'm a little stir crazy, coronavirus going around, and I've basically just been in the house all day. And like I said, I've wanted to do this for a while, so I kind of thought no better time than the present. So I'm going to just go ahead and go for it, I think. So let's go ahead and just get started. This is typical console, and I'm going to go ahead and create a React app. Hope the clicking isn't too much of the keyboard. I kind of like that when I listen to screencasts. Hope you guys find it reassuring in some way, or maybe you like it if you're into ASMR. I don't know. So create React app, you can npx it, which is just a way of scripting that. So let's look, actually. I don't want it to be called my app, but we'll just look at this real quick. So I'm going to call this Matty Speaks. Have not bought the domain yet, but I might if I'm about to upload this. But that's the best name I could come up with, Matty Speaks. So I'm just going to call this Matty Speaks, and should create us a React app. Actually, I want to do that in my code folder. So I end up putting all my code in a folder called code, usually. It's just a habit. I've always done it that way. And so I'm going to do that here. Maddie Speaks is the name of this. What's up? Gotta get that ice cream sandwich because Corona. Whoa, guys. Okay. So looks like everything's good. We just created a new React app, and honestly, I'm a little bit unsure of what I want to do next. We could set up the Netlify hosting, or we could just start coding. I don't want to rely on this other soundboard too much. And just drop some ice cream sandwich on the floor, because I want this to be a learning experience for myself. So just trying to figure out what the best bet is. And so I did yearly goals this year, and I also did them last year. I didn't really look at them last year, but I'm looking at them this year because I did them in Notion, and I love Notion. And one of my yearly goals was to launch something on Product Hunt. And so I think this is a pretty good candidate. You know, I don't really expect anyone to care, but Maddie has a pretty big following. I'm assuming there's other people out there who like him. Okay. Whew. Okay. Let's just get it running first. That's fine. And I also want the code. So that's great. We'll do that, I guess, so we can actually see what we're doing. Okay, so this is a standard Create React app. All right, so this is a standard start to a React app. We'll just edit to make sure everything looks good, right? So we'll just say Maddie Speaks and refresh, see what happens. There it is, Maddie Speaks. Okay. So, like I said, I don't want to rely on this soundboard too much, so I'm just going to delete it for now. Going to look at key code, so I think I'm going to need that for sure. Key codes for JavaScript. Great, this is exactly what I want. That is not what I want. Okay, great. So I think likely what I will want is some kind of mapping that maps the key code to a certain sound, which is fine. The HTML audio tag is for sure going to come into play. This is going to be a really good learning experience, I think. Okay, so there's a play and a pause. I'm also wondering, like, maybe a JSON to map over would be good. I'm really not sure. So I'm going to start off with some kind of architecture. Typically people's criticism of React is that it doesn't enforce a folder structure, and that can be kind of disconcerting for people coming from, for example, Ruby on Rails or some other paradigm that enforces a strict structure. So I'm just going to set up a basic component structure here so that I just know how to navigate. I'm used to working on projects that have a little bit more of a defined folder structure. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that and create a components folder. Components, which is great. And then for sure, app is going to be our kind of main home, which is fine with calling it app. I think what I'm going to have as well are probably buttons, if we remember that previous example. And then maybe like an overarching wrapper. So I would just maybe call that key. I don't really know what you call it. Like, I guess it's a button, right? But the whole thing together is kind of like a play button. Nomenclature is hard in general, right? They say just gonna go ahead and call it. It's kind of like keys on a piano, in my opinion. So I'm gonna call it key JS, and that's fine. Probably gonna use that hooks goodness, that new hotness, hooks. Use state, all that. So we'll get into that in a second. Probably just gonna copy paste, which is fine. Copy paste is fine, guys. I don't care what anyone says. That has 2 spaces. We're gonna enforce 2 spaces here because that's what I'm used to from work and everything. So might get style components in here too. That would be super fun, wouldn't it? But that's fine. So we don't need any of this. We don't need any of this, guys. All right. And we're going to call this key. And we're going to call this let's just do that. We'll just make sure that this is getting included in the way we expect. And I like a space between import groups, which is kind of a prettier thing. We're going to export this. And then import key from. Great. And then we're going to say, I'm just going to get rid of that and say key component. I'm assuming you guys know a bit of React. If you don't, I'm sorry. I hope you can follow along. But the basic idea is that you have these encapsulated pieces of code called components, which basically have a template and data, and the whole job of React is to keep those in sync. And so it allows for this kind of reusable building of interoperable parts. Sorry, my video pieced out there for a sec. Okay, so we have I am a key here. And like I was saying, the basic idea behind React is that you have these composable pieces that you're able to build on each other like building blocks. And those are components. And they keep your local data in sync with the template for you. And that is like the main value of JavaScript libraries and frameworks in general. If you're interested in that, I did a talk on it, which is on my YouTube channel, so you can find that under Meetup and Conference Talks, which is one of the only other playlists that is available to you. So that's totally fine. Let's recap all we've done. So we spun up a basic React app. We named it what we want. We created a basic folder structure here with components, and we created our own component called key, which is going to form kind of the basic building block of each one of those buttons that has its own sound. And that is kind of it for this video. We've got a lot of good stuff coming. I think this project could take an interesting turn, so I'm for sure going to integrate style components, which is great. We are going to integrate S3 hosting for the audio files. I'm going to use an NPM module to rip down the videos, and I'm going to automate pulling the clips, which I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm for sure going to automate that. We are going to upload those to S3. We're going to host this React app on Netlify. We are going to maybe even launch this on Product Hunt. So I may even stream what a Product Hunt launch would look like, because that is on one of my main goals for the year. And yeah, I hope more than anything you take away that code is a means to build stuff that you want to exist in the world, and that's really fun and exciting. And also, even a simple project like this could take a lot of interesting turns, and you end up learning a lot, and that's kind of always my goal. So I think this is a good first place to stop in this kind of inaugural video, but during the coronavirus, or as long as it takes, I'm going to release one video a night as far as my progress goes, and try and chop those up into segments that make sense. Subscribe if you liked it. Look forward to doing more high quality kind of cinematic videos as well. Check out my day in the life video. Check out my JavaScript interview questions video, which gets a lot of traffic because the search terms happen to line up well, and the algorithm kind of dug its teeth into it. Let me know in the comments what you're interested in seeing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.